In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make small chops wraps. I'm going to be showing you how to wrap it properly to prevent it from leaking when frying. I'm going to show you how to get crispy small chop wraps. I'm also going to show you how to get the tastiest filling for small chops. So the first thing I did is to make the small chop wraps. I did that by measuring 3 cups of flour and sieving it into my mixing bowl. After that, I added corn flour. Corn flour is what is going to give the small chop wraps that crisp. It's what's going to make it crispy. Now, if you do not want your small chop wrap to be crispy, skip this step. After that, I added 3 tablespoons of sugar and I added half a teaspoon of salt. Then I poured 3 cups of water. The last cup wasn't totally full. I mixed the flour and water mixture before adding the remaining water. Then I stirred properly. You can't get a smooth paste by stirring with a spoon, so I had to go in with clean hands and squish all the lumps with my hand. So what I did basically, I ran my hand through the dough and I tried to press all the lumps out. This is what you want to continue doing until you reach a texture like this. You might not get rid of all the lumps, but if you have texture like this, you are fine. So just go with that. Next thing I'm going to do now is to get a non-stick pan, and to prevent sticking at all, I'm going to take a piece of foam and rub some vegetable oil on the pot. I poured my batter into a small cup to make it easy for me to transfer the batter into the pot. I poured a little bit of batter into the pot and used a brush to smear it all over the pot. Now make sure you are totally getting the area. After that, I allowed the top to get dried completely, and once the top was dried, I took out the wrap. Now you want to place this wrap on a floored plate. Dust some flour into a plate before placing the wrap, and after placing a wrap, you have to dust some flour on it before placing the next wrap to prevent it from sticking, because your wrap sticks a lot, especially the one you make with this method. I'm going to go in again with some batter and spread it all over the pan. Pay attention to how I'm using the brush to properly cover the area of the wrap. Then I waited for that to get dried and I removed it. The other ways of applying the batter into the pan. This is the first method. I'm going to show you the second method shortly. This is another method. You can simply drip some batter into the pot and brush. Make sure you are properly covering the area. I prefer the first method because it's quicker and easier. This method provides thinner wraps, which are good for spring roll, but the first method provides thicker wraps, which are good for samosa. So I'm using the second method to brush some batter into the pan, making sure I cover the area properly. If you want to get a thicker wrap for your samosa, you can apply more batter than you normally would. Like this, I applied a lot of batter because I wanted a thicker wrap for samosa. You can see how thick the wrap is. After that, I set all the wraps I made aside. You can see how floured each of the wrap is to prevent them from sticking. All the wraps separated from each other easily. The next thing I did was to make my filling. I added some chopped onions into a pan with heated oil and I stirred properly. After that, I added some shredded chicken. I like using shredded chicken because it gives a chewy texture to the filling, and you get to really enjoy the chicken when it's shredded and minced. So you add some sliced cabbage and some grated carrots, and then you stir properly. Stir until the cabbage has cooked a bit and you can see steam coming out of it. Then I added my spices. I added ground garlic, added ground ginger, and then I added suya spice. I feel like this suya spice really elevated the flavor of the filling. Then I added curry masala because I prefer curry masala over regular masala because it's an elevated version of curry. Then I added chicken bouillon because it's a chicken based filling. Then I stirred that properly and allowed it to cook. I added some cayenne pepper for a little bit of kick. If you love spicy fillings, you can add more cayenne pepper. I stirred that and allowed it to cook. After that, I made some slurry. I added flour and a lot of water. Now, I'm adding a lot of water because the water gets dried up easily when you're making small chops fillings. I added some of the water at first and I stirred before adding the remaining slurry to prevent a, to prevent an over watery filling. I allowed that to cook for a few seconds before turning off the heat. Now to wrap the small chops, I'm going to flip the small chop wrap, making sure that the part that touched the pan is facing upwards. I'm going to rub some slurry on the wrap before adding filling. Then I'm going to close it up like this. This is my preferred way of rolling small chops because it prevents leakage. Then you're going to add some more slurry before closing it up. Be very generous when using slurry to seal up your samosa or spring roll because it prevents it from opening up or leaking. Now to make the samosa, I'm going to cut a wrap into two, into a semicircle. Then I'm going to rub slurry all over it. Then I'm going to fold one edge into a triangle and I'm going to create a hole before adding my filling. Now this is not the only way to fold samosa. I'll also show you another way. After adding the filling and making sure it's in there, I'm going to press down the wrap to make sure it's touching the other side. I'm going to continue applying slurry to make sure it's completely sealed. Then I'm going to continue folding. Then I'm going to press it down to make sure it's completely sealed. Another way is by leaving the small chop on your work table, then adding your filling before closing it up like this. Make sure you press down all the sides to make sure it's completely sealed. After that, I'm going to apply some slurry. I'm going to apply some slurry on the surface before folding it completely. And those are my two ways of folding samosa. So I'm going to deep fry this in hot oil because it takes a while for samosa and spring roll to totally fry. I'm going to fry it in hot oil to prevent it from soaking, and that's how you make samosa and spring roll. You can see how good the samosas look. That's the reason why I wrap it the way I wrapped it. Thank you for watching this video. See you next time.